Alright guys, Luke back here for the Randwick preview. So I've just covered Caulfield. Caulfield's going to be the longer video. Randwick, not as much happening. All the main stuff is pretty much shifted down to Melbourne for the Spring Carnival. So we'll roll through it. There's a few races I'm not interested in from a betting perspective. We're just going to smash through that and get onto the other races. So race 1 is one of those races. 2-year-olds. There's 2 horses that have had a start. The others are all on debut. Pretty hard to have an opinion. You're just basing everything off trials, off breeding, off stables. There's a Hayes runner there. If I had to lean you one way, I'd say Hayes has some very forward early 2-year-olds. $11 though, so I'm not too sure if it trialled that well. But to be honest, I haven't really looked at the race. So we'll just skip through it. We'll go to race 2. I did have a bit of an opinion on this race. I will disclaim as well on Randwick, I forgot to mention at the start that there was some rain in Sydney today, so the track working off a soft track because there was about 20 mil today, so quite significant rain. So we'll work off a soft track. So race 2, I was keen on Sambro. I don't really want to back the horse, but I think he picks himself. He comes out of the Dolcify, the Tangled race. Tangled went on to run second in the Group 1. I think that's the strongest form reference here. Gets the claim, so only carries 58 kilos, which is pretty competitive with the other runners here. Drops in class as well, will be on pace, ticks the 1600 metre box. So he was my initial selection, but looking through his record, he's a query on the soft track. So wait and see his track condition. If it's soft 5 or better, I think he'd be a bet here at $4.80. If it's soft 6 or worse, I'd probably sit on the sidelines and just watch. In regards to Sambro, Region I'm against, stepping up to 1600. I didn't like its run last start, I thought it was disappointing. Our Mantra, good chance. Blake Shin said last start that he's probably looking for the mile now. Barrier 10, bit of an issue, will probably go back. Once again, looking through his form, we've got small sample sizes for some of these horses because they're only 3 years old. So I don't know whether they handle soft or not, or whether they just were in an unsuitable race. But he is a query on the soft as well. Definite chance, but I think Sambro at the same price is coming out of a stronger race and will be my leaning there. Chaotix, the favourite, has to be unders. It has the upside. I think it's priced at $3 because those 2 I mentioned are the other 2 obvious picks, and they're not really horses you're jumping out of the trees to back. They're just like they're there by default. You know, the rest of the runners are pretty poor field, and Chaotix, that one who's lightly raced, 2 starts, flashed home, and he's the eye catcher and the X factor that people want to back as a horse to follow going forward. But realistically, he's coming out of a Wednesday Canterbury race, maiden race, sorry. He just got there at the end in the last ride, so it's a significant rising class, even though this isn't still a strong race. The distance will suit, that's a big tick. Glenn Schofield, he's in the good yard at Chris Waller. Winning chance, but I think he's priced on potential. So pretty much they're the only runners I'm interested in the race. I don't think the rest have much. Sambro is my play if the track is no worse than soft 5, otherwise I'll be sitting out. Race 3, Highway, not interested in the race at all. Big open field. None of these horses I have much of an opinion on or have followed in the past, so I'm just going to go straight past it. No opinion on the Highway. Race 4, so the Tattersalls Club Cup, over 2,400 metres, listed race, small field, and we'll just go through the main chances. So Havana Cooler's going like a busted at the moment. Improved a bit last week, but I can't have it. Social Element is coming off a Port Macquarie run. First preparation still. He's been running on Wednesdays. Lost to some pretty mediocre horses. Can't have it at all. Especially at $5.50, I think it's way too short. Then you've got Destiny's Kiss. So Destiny's Kiss comes right into it. So the wetter the better for him. I think if the track gets soft 6 or worse, he's probably my top pick if the track's soft 6 or worse. The problem with me is I locked in the Allwood. I was stupid and I shouldn't have bet so early with some potential rain around in Sydney. So Destiny's Kiss if it's wet. Otherwise, I'd declare Allwood a moral. 53 kilos, Brenton Abdallah. I think his 2,400 metre runs on paper, they don't look like he's got a great record at 2,400, but he only raced at 2,400 overseas, and they were the hardest races he contested overseas were at 2,400, and he was only a length, 2 lengths away each time. So his 2,000 metre form is very good in Australia. He races like 2,400 metres or suit, and his 2,400 metre runs overseas were quite good. Lightweight, I just think he's an absolute moral. I just think the soft track appears to be a query. He hasn't performed that well on soft before. So soft 6 or worse, I'm probably wanting to trade my ticket out, which I don't think I'll be able to do. He'll probably drift because of that reason. But I'd probably try and chop out on Destiny's Kiss and save on that runner so I don't do me dough. Admiral Jello comes out of that good form reference to Audrey, who ran so well in the St. Leger last week. So that looks pretty good form for this. The problem I have with Admiral Jello is looks a bit of a cat. He's only had 4 wins. He hasn't won in his last 7 starts. He's been there or thereabouts. He's a perennial place getter. Hasn't finished outside top 3 his last 5. Coming out of strong races, so he's clearly second pick behind Allwood on a dry track. He too, based off his record, doesn't seem to like the soft. So pretty much on a dry track I like Allwood, on a wet track I like Destiny's Kiss, but I'm already locked into Allwood. We'll go down to race 5, 1400 metres, benchmark 85. Peacock is a cat, I'm sick of it. Doesn't have much upside this prep, I don't think. Improvement, question mark at 1400, never been tried there. Decent enough form for this. I'm not sure. Look, I think well found at 480 with the question mark at the trip anyway, so I haven't backed it. Wyanka seems like it's been up forever. 1400 is a good trip. Previous form reads really well, just very disappointing last start. I thought it was very flat last start behind Sir Plush. Before that it beat Interlocutor, who looks very progressive and a nice horse. So if you're happy to forgive his last start, he's a great each way price at about the $7-8 mark. I think gate 1's a bit of a query too. I think he's someone who likes to sort of get on the outside of horses and make ground. And soft track's a query too. So I'm against him with what I think the circumstances will be tomorrow. Which leaves me with Pumpkin Pie out of the Highway. Look, she's a chance again, but she's now 5th up on a 1-week backup. You can make excuse for her this prep, but at the end of the day, she hasn't really been in the finish of any races. And Dagny, who now is 3rd up, so Dagny's the one I've had a little flutter on. It's not a big bet because it's not an overly exciting race, and I'm not sure I can trust all these horses. But Glinsky Caulfield, barrier 3, Chris Waller, she's performed well 3rd up in the past, and her record on soft and heavy is quite good. So that was the reason I lent to her. On a dry track, I could have been swayed towards a Wyanka, but I think Dagny, having the softer ground here, has swung me her way. I think she'll run better up to 1400. Her 1400 metre form seems to be her best form on a soft track, gate 3. So I think she ticks the most boxes, and $6.50 there, small play. Race 6, Brian Crowley Stakes. Listed race for 3-year-olds over 1200. I've gone to Single Bullet. I think that's the strongest form, strongest last start performance for this race. I've been on him 1st and 2nd up this prep for 2 seconds. He's only won the run race. I only realised that when I was going through the form. It was my initial pick, and I'm like, oh shit, this thing's only won 1 race. Maybe he's a cat, but I just think he's been running in hot races. He's had excuses in a few of them, and I think he can beat this field, especially with Viridine now going down to Melbourne, looking at the Coolmore. I think he's the next logical pick. We'll go down to Chauffeur. Chauffeur looks cooked. I don't know what they're doing with it. It was good first start, but its subsequent runs have been disappointing. Its worst run was its last start. Can't have it. Its best form would probably see it win this race, but it's had 3 poor runs in a row, so you can't really back it at $7. Goodfella, very good last start. I would have been keen to back Goodfella if this was 1400. If it was 1400 metres, I'd probably declare him moral. But he was heavily ridden first up over 1100 and couldn't really keep up. So I'm not sure how 1400 back to 1200 is going to go for him. I think they might be a bit speedy for him, but if he can relax and get into a nice rhythm, I think his form's good enough to be in the finish here. Probably my second pick in the race behind Single Bullet. I think Albuman's been running on quite well. They've tried to get him to settle and get him hitting the line from the back of the field. He's been doing okay. Barrier 1's a map question mark. I think he's probably better coming down the outside. And I think Single Bullet has him covered from what I've seen. They've raced each other last start and Single Bullet beat him home, and I think can do so again. I'm against Malahat. Single Bullet's beat at this prep. He's had a couple of weeks off, 5 weeks off. And I think he's better at 1100 metres. I think over 1200, there'll be horses that are stronger at the end of the 1200 than Malahat. Piracy up in grade. I really like the way he's been running. I thought last start was a forgive, because he was up on that hot speed and was a bit of a sitting shot. Would have been keen to back him again, but I just think this is a significantly harder race, and I think the single bullet form through Viridine is stronger. So that's the way I've played. Race 7, the Nivison for mares, 1200 metres. So Heavens Above, no, 1200. Dixie Blossoms, 1600 back to 1200, no. She's definitely classy, Dixie Blossoms, and wet track suits her fine. I just can't see her winning this race, 1600 back to 1200, especially when she's going to go back up to 1600 for the mire. I don't see the point in this run, to be honest. Daisy Doom, ditto, but Daisy Doom's a better 1200 metre horse than Dixie Blossom. So I've actually backed Daisy Doom because I think she's classy, and I think she's the type of horse who never runs a bad race, and she's going to be very strong at the end of 1200. So I thought, with the weight scale, she's only giving the other sort of better prepared horses that set up a bit better for the race, Diddums and White Moss, probably set up a lot better, but are stepping up significantly in grade to a horse like Daisy Doom, and she only has an extra kilo than them. So, and she's consistent, good gait, so I think she's a winning chance at 650. Nancy, first up, no idea how she's going to run. I think even her best form probably sees her a bit short here. She's probably going to have to go to a whole new level, so I'm saying no. Diddums ticks the boxes in regards to setup. 1100 first up, now up to 1200. Will strike a wet track, which she's won on before. Gerald Ryan out of Snitzel. I think she's a very good little 4-year-old mare, so I think she's going to be hard to beat. But she's up in grade as well. How does she compare to a horse like Daisy Dooms and Dixie Blossom in regard to class? But best setup for the race. Kinsachi's each way chance. I've been a follower of Kinsachi. I just think she lacks the class to be in the finish here. I think she'll find at least a couple too good. And White Moss is the other one I've backed. So I've backed Daisy Doom, and White Moss is the progressive one who I think has a lot of upside. So she was 1100 first up, which was a little bit too short for her. She's stepping up to 1200. I think she's probably going to be better again up to 1400. But 1200 is probably going to suit second up. She's won on soft. Lightweight and barrier 6. I think she's just going to put herself in a position to run a nice race. Didham's is similar type of profile, but I just like the better odds about White Moss, who I think can turn into a nice 4-year-old mare. So playing with White Moss and Daisy Doom there, about the $6 to $7 mark for both. So just have a drink of water. So we've got a couple of races left, 2 left. So we've got race 8, 1600 metre benchmark 85, and it's really a pretty underwhelming field. Zanalicious comes out of the best form, but 60 kilos for a 4-year-old mare, I don't think she's good enough to come from the back of the field, barrier 11. I think 1600 metres as far as she wants as well, especially the big weight. At around the $4 mark, I'm going to be against. Black on Gold. Look, I'd be keen to back. I just don't know the setup here. 60 kilos, barrier 1. He's the type of horse, in my opinion, who looks like he needs galloping room. He also likes to dry. The rain's not going to do him any favours. And he stays at 1600, so I don't like the setup there. I'm not a big fan of Improvito. I don't think it's got much. Mapmaker kind of almost puts himself there by default, but he very rarely wins. But he's probably going to run a good, maybe $2.25 Mapmaker places to play here. Barrier 8, Hieronymus, was beaten quite a long way by Interlocutor last start into second, but did run at second again, and he was back. He's better on speed, and he was wide as well. So I think with a softer run this time round, I think he's highly likely to run a place. Gorgon was negative to his form, but he did produce a bit of a peak last start at Warwick Farm, but that's still a benchmark 76 up to a benchmark 85 here, and I still don't think the horse has that much there. In his favour, he's 54.5 kilos with an apprentice, 3 kilo claimer, so he's really carrying 51.5 kilos, which is very light, and he's a distance winner last start, so there is positives. I just don't like the horse that much. Intueri as well, I don't think has much ability. Benchmark 74 winner last start. We'll run the distance out, but I mean the fact that that's 750 in the market says enough, and he's probably leading me towards a map maker. Each way, maybe bigger place bet, but we'll just see. Hopefully map maker gets out a bit, and I can have a pretty good crack at the place. Last race, race 9. So we've got 1200 metres, benchmark 88, and haven't they forgot about Osirich again? $15. He won a harder race last start. Beat home Tango Rain, I thought so. These are some pretty spruiked horses, and this time around finds a race with less depth. They've still kept him 15. So I understand the horse is 7 years old and he's had about 50 starts, but he's an honest old battler. He tries his guts out. McGorry again, barrier 2. He's just going to be sitting there, either outside lead, suck run behind, just going to be there, and he's going to be giving his all down the straight. And I think he's a great each way bet. I think he's, I don't know if I'll say a moral, close to a moral to run a place at $4.40. I think it's a great play. Obviously the Spruik horse's New Universe, I think it's $2.80 because there's nothing in this field. That's why it's such a short price. But clearly has ability. Was very impressive first up. Last preparation, first run in Australia. Ran well second up, and then was disappointing third up. Not sure what they're going to do with him in this prep. His first up form and second up form is good. Maybe he's a freshie. Trialled really well under a tight hold. Look, probably wins comfortably, but he is really priced on his potential. Once again, if you're not in the stable and you don't know how the horse is working, it's a bit of a leap of faith to be taking $2.70 about this horse first up. And Zubalina, I'm against. She's $4.40, but A, she doesn't really like a rain-affected track. She likes dry tracks. B, she is now back 1,400 back to 1,200 with barrier 13. So she's going to be going back, I think. And I think on the soft track and the fact that she's back in distance, I'm saying she can't win at $4.40. Happy to leave out of the quaddie as well. Crafty Crop ran quite well first up. Improved performance for him. He's always shown a bit of ability, but he's been very inconsistent. And I can't trust him, and I think $6.50 is too short. That's about as far as the race goes. So look, there's not much depth there, and that's why I am keen on that ISO Rich $15 again. So that's pretty much it for Randwick. I brushed over a couple of those early ones, but I'm not really interested in betting on them. Most of my focus will be on Caulfield. So enjoy the day, everyone. I'll do a review video again either Sunday or Monday. And yeah, feel free to send any questions in that you guys have about my tips or the way I do form or anything like that. I'm happy to help. That's what I'm here for. So all the best, guys. Enjoy your day tomorrow. Cheers.